Oh my goodness. Hello Internet, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Brett Eats Richmond. So what I did today is I went to 5 different cafes in Richmond, Virginia, where I am a proud resident, and I got matcha lattes and a morning pastry. Now, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I try to eliminate that out of my life. Try not to consume too much caffeine. So what's a good alternative? A matcha latte. It's so pleasing too. It's nice and green. It's perfectly Instagrammable, as they say. So where did I go? I went to Lamplighter. I went to Roastology, Whisk, Sugar and Twine, and finally Ironclad. And same exact thing for these pastries over here. I got a croissant from Sugar and Twine, a croissant from Whisk, pumpkin bread from Lamplighter, a chai, what appears to be chocolate chip scone from Roastology, and I got a butter rum muffin from Ironclad. Now, why are these all different? Wouldn't I have chosen a singular pastry in order to compare all of them? Well, they all didn't have the same selection of pastries. And so, when possible, I would go into the store and I would say, "Excuse me, what's the pastry that you would recommend?" And this is the most recommended, best, interesting pastry from each of those. So it's not an exact apples to apples comparison. Each pastry has its own unique attributes. So we're just seeing, if I were tootling around Richmond some afternoon and I wanted a matcha latte and morning pastry, where would I go? I suppose we should begin. And we begin, of course, with Lamplighter, with their attractive little giant silly bicycle logo. It's not, the logo isn't silly, it's the fact that bicycles were ever of that design. I don't think a acute triangle is the perfect shape for any sort of mode of transportation. Yeah, that's right. We want our center of gravity to be as high as possible as we go 18 miles an hour. All of these are the exact same temperature, which is to say room temperature, but that's the way we like it here at Brett Eats Richmond. So, now, a few things about the matcha lattes before I get into tasting notes. One, I ordered them all unsweetened. They did not all come unsweetened. Lamplighter decided to sweeten mine, which, as I will get into, I wouldn't necessarily consider to be a knock. So, tasting this Lamplighter one, it's sweet. It's actually quite delicious. I like that very much. Moving on to Roastology. The way they've packed their thing, it makes a very interesting noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds like a man screaming when I take a sip. Hold on. It goes, "Ah!" every time I take a sip. So either that's the cup or they have sentient matcha, which, if they do, could be a selling point if you want to take matcha life. Otherwise, you know, that's not a very humane way to serve your matcha there, Roastology. Just kidding, this is quite good. This is an unsweetened one. It's ice cold, as everything is now. It's quite delicious. Roastology is a very interesting name for a cafe, or whatever you want to call it. I was having a heck of a time remembering Roastology when I had list them all in my head trying to do that. I could never remember Roastology, and that's because Roastology is the whole concept behind the cafe. That'd be like going to a furniture store. Say, "Hey, where'd you get that couch?" "Oh, I went to woodworking." Or, "Hey, where'd you get that beer?" "Oh, this beer? I got it at brew making." "Where'd you get that car?" "Did you go to Bob's Hondas?" No, I went to automotive manufacturing." "Where'd you get that delicious piece of lettuce there?" "No, I went to farming and agriculture." 4 examples. Why not? So anyways, Roastology, tasting it. Very good. I'm going to compare them all in just a second. I want to get a baseline. I forgot to introduce that one. This is from Whisk. Again, a matcha latte. Sugar and twine. Sugar over twine. Twine is the denominator. So if you're going to multiply two of these together, make sure sugar is your numerator. Twine is your denominator. Okay, this is another one where they just went off the rails and served it to me sweet. Again, not a complaint, and we'll get into that in just a second. Quite good. This one is from Ironclad. Very Russian-sounding name. This is made from plants. This cup is made from plants. So if that's important to you, extra compostable cups. It's also a compostable lid. Everything about this is compostable, including the drinker. I'm compostable as well. Hopefully not for a while. This one is significantly emptier than the rest of them, which is not a knock on Ironclad. I want to say they served it to me full. But as is a running theme on this show, transporting the drinks from the location to this secret underground tasting bunker, I yet again spilled a significant portion of it. That has not affected the flavor. So, some notes. I can't really tell the difference between any of these matchas. I thought I would be able to tell. I'm a big fan of green tea. But the addition of milk has kind of set neutrality to any sort of tasting notes that I might be able to distinguish between each of them. I know the sweet ones from the unsweet ones. That's good. But overall, I'm also finding I don't particularly like matcha tea or tea in general with just milk. Just milk. Who gets coffee with just milk? That feels insane to me. Either just drink it straight. Black coffee is delicious. Straight up tea is delicious. Tea with milk and sugar, fantastic. Tea with milk, get out of here. And also, who are we kidding? At this point, some of these matcha lattes with cream and sugar have now just become breakfast milkshakes. What did you have for breakfast? Oh, I had coffee, cream, and sugar. Hold the ice cream, though. I'm on a diet. Moving on to the pastries. This is the most important thing. So, with all the matchas generally being of similar ilk, only thing to note is the one from Whisk is slightly more bitter than the other one. So if you like a little more of a pungent matcha, that's the one for you. Other than that, they're all basically the same. Also, to the people who sweeten this, without me asking for sweetener, thank you very much. You were correct. I was incorrect. Every time I selected unsweetened, I was wrong. So the way we're going to do this with all matchas being created equal, we are going to distinguish some of the matchas using some of these pastries. We're going to see which pastries are the best, which ones I like the most, and then also which matcha I naturally reach for after I take a bite of one of these lovely, sometimes flaky pastries. We begin with the pastries. We start off with this croissant from Sugar and Twine, sugar divided by twine. Now, also another quick note. I'm such a tease. There's only one of these cafes that you can actually go and sit in, and that is Ironclad. Ironclad being denoted by the butter rum muffin, which is what pirates call their mistresses. My little butter rum muffin. Working on it. So, that's the only one that you can actually get in person. Lamplighter has some outside seating, that's the pumpkin bread, and then Roastology, which is where I got this chai scone, they've got some outdoor seating as well. But everything, it was very bank teller or ATM-esque. You got a window, you go up to the window and you put your mask on and they hand over the dang scone. So, we try now a croissant from Sugar and Twine. Okay. This is delicious. Wow. Wow, that is a good croissant. So, we'll see how this tastes with the Lamplighter matcha. It's the first one I reached for. It could just be because of its proximity to me. Goes really well with it. That is a particularly good croissant. Nice and flaky and crispy on the outside. Super, super buttery flavors on the inside. And it's nice and soft. I'm sure it would have been even better this morning when it was fresh. We try les autres croissants, which I believe is Eat Whisk's croissant, fat boy. We made an interesting discovery. So, between Whisk and sugar and twine, this one is much more cavernous. Look at that. We got a cave of croissant in there. This thing is hollower than a celebrity's apology. It's quite good. It is pretty different from this. So, the outside is a little more flaky and crispy, and it doesn't have quite that sort of butter flavor as the sugar and twine one does. However, I will say, and it's also it feels a little more substantial. It's a little heavier, more dense somehow, despite its hollow nature. It's quite good. I like it. I gotta be honest with you. I think I like the sugar and twine one more. However, this one was kind of sitting out there for a while. I do like both of them. I'd be very happy starting my day off with either of them. And why not try a Whisk croissant with a Roastology matcha? Still makes a funny noise. Ooh, that's quite nice. Hey, that one's got a bit of a spice. Maybe croissants help bring out the flavor of matchas. Okay, this is some pumpkin bread from Lamplighter. Something of note with this pumpkin bread is this is the only pastry on their online menu. There was no other pastry, and you can only do online ordering. This is the only one. This is the only one that was available to me. Everything else was sort of a breakfast burrito or breakfast sandwich. So, the only pastry at Lamplighter, how is it? Chew, chew, chew. Swallow, swallow, swallow. That's quite good. That's really delicious. I also appreciate, this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but it really is. I like that they're serving pumpkin out of season, which I don't think pumpkin needs a season. Pumpkin is delicious year-round. Granted, butternut squash may feel a little better in the fall and winter. However, I would like pumpkin-flavored things to be available to me even on the hottest day in July, because it's still always good. And this is quite delicious. It's nice and spongy, great flavor of pumpkin spice, the nutmeg and the cinnamon. Overall, it's delicious. As Paul Holly would say, it's not claggy. It has proved. I don't know too much about bread other than bread tastes good. Okay. Second bite was even better. We try a Lamplighter pastry with a Whisk matcha. I've learned nothing new from that sip, other than it quenched my thirst. Very good. We move on to a Roastology scone. Now this is substantial. I noticed that when I set it down, this is a big scone. Now, I'm sure it's quite good. All of this stuff looks very good. I'm especially excited for the chai spicy. Maybe that's how you can get around pumpkin flavored things. Don't call it pumpkin, just say, oh, this is chai spiced. Same thing, basically. All right. Whoa, that is a dense, hefty boy right there. Now, I don't know how you like your scones. I prefer my scones to be kind of like the consistency of that pumpkin bread, which is to say, kind of softer and more mushy, a little denser. So, excited for this. Those are not chocolate chips. I believe those are raisins. Not a big fan of raisins. It's also quite dry, but the flavors are very, very good. For whatever reason, Larry David, he prefers a dry scone. So Larry David would love this scone. That's not to say it's, bad. It's quite good. The flavors are actually very nice. Very sweet. It's fun to eat. It's also just fun to say, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? I had a scone. I had a scone and tea. Let's see how a Roastology scone pairs with a Whisk tea. Or this is sugar and twine. I'm sorry. Again, no new information gained for matcha. I'm a matcha noob. I really don't know. I need to bring in an expert to teach me something about matcha. Because all tastes pretty good to me. And we move on. We are now at the Ironclad muffin, which is a failed Civil War contraption. They made the first of the ironclad ships, and they tried with an ironclad muffin, and they said, no, no, no. We want ships to be made of iron, not our pastries. Okay, this one is very difficult. This is a sticky, sticky muffin, which can provide a very sticky situation if you're not careful. Oh my goodness. The muffin dressing is stripping away the insides of this muffin like nobody's business. That is really sticking to it. Now, could be that this muffin has been sitting for much longer than it should have been in my car and then here. So I do not blame the muffin's construction for not meeting transportation standards. Okay. We have a winner. Oh my goodness. Wow. Holy moly, I'm getting louder and louder. This is so good. This is so good. Wow. It's a butterscotch muffin. I love butterscotch. I love butterscotch things. I love butterscotch on puddings. I love butterscotch on ice cream. I think butterscotch is something that is not used quite enough these days. Underrated. Butterscotch. Overrated. What's overrated?
Pumpkin spice.
I know, I was going to say that. Okay, we'll do it. So, underrated. Butterscotch. Overrated. Pumpkin spice. Because I'm a hypocrite. But, you have to pardon my terrible manners. But all the butterscotch stuff, butter rum, butter whatever, came off on the thing, and I don't even want to miss. I think this is a thing that I need to do in private, because all of the sticky goodness came off on that, and I would like to enjoy that on my own. So we'll take one more bite for the camera, and then the rest will be enjoyed at my own leisure. Holy moly. Okay, I also do want to say, this is not a breakfast item. This is a cupcake. This is a frostingless cupcake. It's delicious. It is so, so good. But I would not have this to start a particularly active day. Let's say I wanted to take a long hike. I wouldn't start it off with a butterscotch cupcake muffin and a sweet matcha latte milkshake. This is all very decadent what I'm doing, I'm realizing. And yes, you have it with the sweet latte. That's really good. Okay, so what have we learned today? We have learned Ironclad This guy right here, this is the bee's knees. This is lunch. This is what you want to have out of a cafe experience. Also, because you can go in, enjoy some nice jazz, enjoy some nice scenery. Everyone there was very nice to me. Their matcha latte was adequate, which I don't know how to describe a matcha latte other than it exists, and it may have some sort of caffeine in it. I think the real way to tell the difference between matchas, all kidding aside, you got to have it without the milk. The milk is the great equalizer. It just neutralizes any sort of stringency, any sort of bitterness that matcha naturally has. And so maybe that is a test on a later date, but not too soon. So, again, what have we learned? Ironclad makes a mean muffin. The croissants were very, very good. I liked them both. If I had to choose one, it's sugar and twine by just a little bit, but it could be on a day-to-day thing. The pumpkin bread was from Lamplighter is no slouch either. I would thoroughly enjoy that on a nice fall afternoon. Or we're coming up on spring, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. Pumpkin spice things year-round. I'll enjoy that March 14th. The scone from Roastology, I gotta say, was a little lacking. I've had their avocado toast. Their avocado toast is very good. I believe they put arugula on it, which I'm a big fan of. That's not to say that you shouldn't try Roastology. Their matcha latte, again, was adequate. But the scone was a little dry for my taste. But, as you may be able to tell from this, I have a big sweet tooth. And it was a little more savory than I would have liked. But, if you like a little bit of a flakier scone with a little more savory flavor, then Roastology might be for you. What is Brett's verdict? Everyone wants to know. Go get a butter muffin. That's all I got.